A chorus of regional anger continues to ripple through West Africa over the disputed election in Guinea-Bissau. What happened in Guinea-Bissau is a sham and based on nothing, said Prime Minister of neighboring Senegal, Sissoco.
Number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers of Intervlog from across Africa and around the world, welcome to today's extended analysis. A deep, calm, and comprehensive walk through one of the most significant and destabilizing political developments currently reshaping the West African sub-region. In this episode, we turn our lens to the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, a nation once again thrust into the global spotlight following a sudden and controversial coup that has not only disrupted its democratic process, but also awakened regional and international alarm. The events unfolding there have shaken neighbors, triggered rapid diplomatic responses, and reignited long-standing concerns about governance, security, and the fragility of democratic institutions in a region often tested by political turbulence. We will explore how Senegal, Nigeria, ECOWAS, the African Union, the European Union, the United Nations, and prominent figures such as former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan have responded, and we will aim, as always, to connect these developments with the broader dynamics shaping governance and democracy across West Africa. Here at Intervlog, we believe in making complex issues clearer for our global audience. We dissect the facts, separate emotion from reality, and turn confusion into clarity. Today's story is not just about Guinea-Bissau. It is also about the struggle for democratic legitimacy, the impact of organized crime on politics, and the delicate balance of power in the ECOWAS region. To guide our narrative, we will occasionally use simple parables in standard Portuguese, each followed by an explanation in English, offering cultural color while maintaining the strict neutrality of the analysis. So let us begin. This week, Guinea-Bissau was preparing for what many believed would be a decisive moment: the announcement of results from its presidential and legislative elections. The contest was tight but peaceful, pitting incumbent President Umaro Sissoco Embaló against Fernando Dias, a 47-year-old relative newcomer who had gained significant momentum. Before the Electoral Commission could officially announce results, however, soldiers intervened, seizing power, arresting government officials and opposition figures, shutting down communication channels, and declaring that they were acting in defense of democracy. It was a dramatic intervention, executed swiftly and with familiar echoes of the country's long history of military involvement in politics. For many observers, this was not an unexpected scenario in a nation that has seen multiple coups, attempted coups, and political crises since the early 1970s. But what made this event especially striking was not just its timing, it was the explanation provided. The new military leader, Major General Horta Inta, declared that the coup was necessary to save Guinea-Bissau from narco-traffickers. According to him, criminal networks were allegedly plotting to capture Guinean democracy. Yet opposition figures rejected this narrative outright. They described the takeover as a desperate attempt by allies of President Embaló to prevent the official declaration of results they claimed would have shown Embaló losing the election. Thus, within hours, the country found itself in a constitutional crisis, its electoral process frozen and its future uncertain. Here, we offer our first Portuguese parable. Quem tem a luz, cria a tempestade antes do amanhecer. Meaning in English, he who fears the light creates a storm before dawn. This parable suggests that when someone fears the outcome of a transparent process, they may act prematurely to disrupt it. For many critics of the coup, this proverb captures their interpretation of events, an abrupt intervention allegedly designed to avoid an unwelcome electoral outcome. As with many modern coups, legitimacy quickly became the central question. Who stands where? Who is aligned with whom? And what does this mean for the region? From the early hours, analysts began noticing important alignments. The newly appointed Prime Minister, Elidio Vieira Te, had previously served as director of President Embaló's campaign. Denise Nchama, the military figure who first announced the takeover, was a military aide to Embaló. Both Major General Horta Inta and the newly appointed Armed Forces Chief Thomas Jassy are viewed as close to Embaló. For many observers, these connections raised concerns about the true nature of the coup, whether it was a genuine attempt at restoring democratic order or a politically orchestrated move intended to preserve an outgoing president's power base. This alignment, whether coincidental or deliberate, is central to why regional bodies and neighboring governments reacted strongly. But before exploring those reactions, let us consider a second Portuguese parable. Quando a raposa guarda o galinheiro, não se espera amanhecer em paz. English explanation. When the fox guards the henhouse, one should not expect a peaceful dawn. In political terms, this parable describes situations where individuals with vested interests are placed in positions of oversight or control. Critics of the new leadership argue that this proverb reflects the current political alignment in Guinea-Bissau, where allies of the previous incumbent are now steering the transition. One of the most vocal and swift responses came from Senegal, Guinea-Bissau's northern neighbor. The Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, in a session before lawmakers, declared, "What happened in Guinea-Bissau was a sham." His message was clear. The electoral process should continue. The Electoral Commission must be allowed to declare the winner. Democracy cannot be interrupted by force. This statement carried weight, not just because Senegal is a regional power, but because of its own recent political transitions. Senegal's stance signaled that the region's political leadership, especially those who came to power through popular movements, would not condone electoral manipulation in neighboring states. Senegal also played a crucial role in helping former President Embaló leave Guinea-Bissau on a special flight arranged in coordination with ECOWAS. This raised further questions about the political dynamics behind the scenes. Senegal's response, firm and unapologetic, set the tone for the international reaction that followed. ECOWAS, already under pressure due to coups in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, wasted no time. The bloc condemned the coup, suspended Guinea-Bissau from ECOWAS, called for the armed forces to return to their barracks, announced a high-level mediation mission. The suspension was significant. Guinea-Bissau had already been a point of concern for the regional body, and this coup arrived at a moment when ECOWAS was battling criticism for either being too strict or too lenient, depending on the situation. In this context, ECOWAS sought to demonstrate consistency, asserting that unconstitutional changes of government remain unacceptable across the region. But ECOWAS's job became more complicated due to allegations of hidden political motivations and deep divisions within Guinea-Bissau's power structure. This leads us to our third Portuguese parable. Água parada pode esconder correntezas perigosas. English explanation. Still water may hide dangerous currents. The message is simple. What appears calm or orderly on the surface may conceal deeper tensions. In Guinea-Bissau, beneath the surface rhetoric of restoring democracy, lies a complex mix of politics, military interests, and allegations of criminal influence. Nigeria, home of the ECOWAS headquarters and the region's largest democracy, condemned the coup and called for the safety of election observers. One of those observers was former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, representing the West African Elders Forum. Nigeria's firm position was an attempt to reinforce democratic norms, emphasizing that the region cannot allow electoral observers to become collateral in domestic political disputes. The African Union, through its chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, echoed ECOWAS's position, calling for a return to constitutional order. The European Union issued a similar condemnation. But perhaps the strongest institutional voice came from the United Nations. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, through spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, stated, he strongly condemns the coup d'état perpetrated by elements of the military and any attempt to violate constitutional order. Meanwhile, Volker Turk, the UN human rights chief, raised alarm over reports of arbitrary detentions of at least 18 political figures, limited or no access to communication, threats and intimidation against media outlets and journalists. For observers, this was a worrying sign of an environment rapidly deteriorating into repression. Freedom of expression is often the first casualty of political instability. In Guinea-Bissau, that pattern appeared once again. Is democracy losing ground in West Africa? This question lies at the heart of the current crisis. As always, Intervlog approaches these developments with neutrality, clarity, and respect for all sides. Based on the available facts, several possible scenarios present themselves. ECOWAS. Mediation succeeds. A negotiated settlement could lead to the resumption of the electoral process, the release of detained officials, a shortened or adjusted transition period. Scenario 2. The military consolidates power. If key institutions align with the junta, the transition could last longer than announced, deepening political divisions. Scenario 3. International pressure increases. Targeted sanctions, diplomatic isolation, or funding suspensions could accelerate a return to constitutional order. Scenario 4. Internal resistance emerges. Political actors aligned with candidate Fernando Dias may mobilize supporters domestically or internationally. We conclude our parable sequence with this. O barco balança, mas quem segura o leme decide o destino. English explanation: the boat may rock, but the one holding the rudder decides its destination. This reflects that regardless of current turbulence, the choices made by Guinea-Bissau's leaders, military and civilian, will shape the nation's next chapter. Guinea-Bissau now stands at a crossroads, pulled between its democratic aspirations and its long-standing structural vulnerabilities. The swift reactions from Senegal, Nigeria, ECOWAS, the AU, the EU, and the United Nations demonstrate that the world is watching. Today's events will undoubtedly influence not just Guinea-Bissau's future, but also the trajectory of democratic governance across West Africa. Intervlog will continue to track developments, analyze facts, and inform audiences calmly and objectively. In a region full of potential yet often challenged by instability, clarity is essential, and that clarity begins with understanding. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, stay vigilant. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.